Everybody, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. The place where this is coming in. I'd like to call read the call for the meeting tonight. The special town meeting of the electors and citizens qualified to vote in town meetings of the town of Woodstock, Connecticut will be held at the Woodstock Middle School Gymnasium, 147B, Route 169 in the town of Woodstock, Connecticut on October 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. to discuss and vote on the following. 1, to choose a moderator. 2, to discuss and vote upon an amendment to the ordinance creating the Woodstock Agricultural Land Preservation and Land Acquisition Fund adopted May 3rd, 1999. A copy of the proposed amendment 4 to the ordinance is on file in the town clerk's office. 3, to discuss and vote upon rescinding the ordinance concerning the appointment of the assessor effective October 6, 1958, as the state statute it is based on is no longer valid. Number 4, to discuss and vote upon amending the ordinance regarding tax abatements for dairy farms and fruit orchards adopted June 29, 1992. A copy of the proposed amendment 2 to the ordinance is on file in the town clerk's office. 5, to transact such other business as may properly come before said meeting. And number 6, adjourn. And it was stated at Woodstock, Connecticut on the 16th of September, 2021, and signed by all 3 selectmen and by town clerk Judy Waldberg. It was published in the Villager on October 1st. Do I have any nominations for moderator? Mike?
I nominate Bob Dylan.
I have a nomination for Don Adaletta. Do I have any other nominations for moderators for this evening's meeting? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Good evening, everybody. Before we start, I was asked to make a couple of announcements. Because so many people are calling in from Zoom, should we have technical difficulties, we're going to adjourn the meeting for 30 minutes. So anybody who wishes to, who's currently calling in from home, can come to the middle school and continue either for the town meeting or for the forum that's following. While we're speaking, anybody who wishes to speak and who's acknowledged by the moderator, please come here so that you can use the microphone and people can understand you, and hold it like this, so that people will. Please speak slowly, speak clearly. You're permitted to remove your mask when speaking. Please say your name and your address, so the people at Zoom can understand you as well as the people in the room. The Zoom attendees, please raise your hand or use the chat format to ask questions. And an announcement, a nuisance announcement, because we're in the school building, we're probably required to wear masks unless you're here. So I know it's not fun, but thank you. If you could just ask us for masks here at the table, if you don't have them. Sure. Oh, and another reminder, perhaps because I'm not doing it well enough, speak loudly and slowly. Thank you. With that, we'll hear a motion to address the first item on our agenda, or the second item on the agenda, which is to amend the open space ordinance. Is there a motion to do so? I see Sid Logic moving to, and is there a second? Yeah, oh, you got it. I'm sorry. what? Oh, okay. So people can't hear me over the fan. So we have a motion from Sid, a second from Jay. And is there any discussion on this item? Then all in favor of amending the ordinance as stated in your materials here, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Are there any abstaining? Thank you. Are we set with the Zoom?
I have 6 people on Zoom who voted yes.
Okay. The second item, to rescind the assessor ordinance. Again, the materials are stated here. Is there a motion to accept the changes as stated? Yes, Karen? Is there a second? Yes, Greg Klein. Is there discussion on this issue? Yes, Rebecca Hyde, could you come please forward and
Hi, I'm Rebecca Hyde, English Neighborhood Routes. So I got to wondering if we rescind this, who's in charge of putting our assessor in place? So I thought, well, probably the selectmen, but I went to the Connecticut statutes and the municipalities, looked at the assessor, and the statute said that the municipality may by town meeting vote provide for the appointment of one or more assessors, which made me wonder if we repeal this, how, under what authority we will actually have an assessor working for the town. My understanding is that the town meetings are the legislative body of the town. Selectmen are simply the executive body, and if we don't have an ordinance in place, authorizing an assessor, I'm kind of wondering where we're going to end up with this. My thought on that, I mean, you know, anybody can look up the statute, not have the whole story, but I just wanted to have that. Thank you.
I have a Zoom question too.
This is a Zoom question from John Davis. If this ordinance is removed, what ordinance will provide for the assessor's work? We have someone to address those questions? No, we don't have anybody to address those questions. Okay, so Rebecca, Jay, could you speak?
I do not have an answer. However, the issue, Rebecca and John, is to rescind this because effective October 1st, 2010, the state statute is no longer valid, and that's what covered it. But that's something moving forward, in answer to your question, we will have to address on how should this be addressed in the future of appointment or hiring or, you know, that sort of thing for assessors. So that's about the way it is. So we're basically rescinding this as it is now based on state statute was repealed. Now, the step forward after that, we're going to have to address in the future, and that's something I'll consult with the town attorney about.
Thank you, Jay. So just to make sure I understand what you said, that we're changing our ordinance to come into compliance with what the state statute said. And we'll address the issues that have been raised by others. Yes, sir. Could you come forward?
John DeLugo, Woodstock Road. So my understanding is we're rescinding this old piece without having a plan for a new one. I understand that the state statute requires us to do so, but we do have the choice. I'd like to know what the plan is. I don't think bringing this before town meeting without a plan is a great idea. So I'm going to vote we don't do it. Unless somebody has an idea on how we're going to do this. Is this going to be chosen by the selectmen or a town meeting? or a town meeting where we get that part of the selectmen. I'd like to see a little bit more planning before this is brought to the town meeting. Thanks.
Mr. Swan?
Do I have a question?
Jay, could you ask so the Zoom people can hear?
Let me give you a suggestion. I haven't researched it, and I'm not in a position of leadership in the town, so I would think before we bring it forward, that we think about it and what's the best way to put an assessor office. It shouldn't be that hard, but I would think if we knew this was coming, we should have simply had a plan in place.
I have a clarification here from Crystal Adams, who says that this ordinance is clearing up our books and that it's no longer required by the state to appoint an assessor
For the 4 year term.
for a 4-year term. So we can appoint them for 1-year terms?
However, we can.
Or
We
hire them.
hired them. So,
They're currently not appointed, they're hired
so we're just
by
cleaning up the
the,
books.
by the Board of Selectmen. Okay, are there other questions or comments? Yes, sir, in the back.
Martin Devine from Turner Road. I think there's some research we have to do before these questions, but I was just wondering what we currently do for the assessor. And if you just said that there was an ordinance from 2020, is that correct? So we're 11 years behind and trying to catch up to it, if I understand things correctly.
So the state repealed that.
The state repealed that as a requirement in 2010. Going through the books, we noticed that and made a note, okay, you should clean up the books and remove this, rescind it as it's no longer a requirement by the state that the assessor is appointed to a 4-year term. So this is just a cleaning up the books thing.
Currently, the assessor is appointed by the selectmen for a 4-year term. No, hired by the selectmen.
And
So we just need to amend the amendment to say that you're going to continue with the current policy of hiring by the selectmen, which I don't think this says, which that gentleman with the Seattle Mariners had pointed out so well.
No, and I appreciate that. I'm just losing control of moderating. So Crystal, did you want to say something else?
Yes.
So it is the recommendation of our town council that we rescind the ordinance versus do a new ordinance because the state statute that governed that said that the assessors must be appointed to a 4-year term 10 years ago was repealed. It's no longer a valid ordinance. So we did check with our town council and say, what do you recommend? Do we need to do a new ordinance? They said, no, just rescind this one. So currently the assessor is hired and, that 4-year appointment is no longer valid. It's just still on our books. And we did this as a matter of just cleaning up the ordinance books to bring them in line with the current state statutes.
So again, so that I understand, and hopefully the rest of the people understand, we haven't been appointing our assessors for a number of years. So we're just making the paperwork agree with what the state requires and what we've been doing for the past decade or more anyway. Are there any more questions or clarifications? Hearing none, I'll call the vote to rescind the assessor ordinance. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say no. We have 1 no in the back. Any abstaining?
I have,
Crystal's doing a Zoom vote.
I have 7 yes on Zoom and I have 1 no on Zoom.
7 yes, 1 no. And any abstaining? We have 2 abstainers here. Any of Zoom abstainers? Okay, so the ayes have it then. Thank you for that good conversation that helped clarify this for all of us. And finally, to amend the tax abatement ordinance, do I have a motion to accept this as proposed? Somebody? Karen Fitzgerald. Is there a second? Wait, Rebecca, hi. Okay, now is there discussion on this? Who would like to speak to this? I believe the person who was going to speak to that is probably still out in the parking lot for listening stuff. Oh. Yes, Mr. Morris would like to speak to this.
I'm the current chairman of the Agricultural Commission. We're an advisory commission. And over the years, we've been watching the change of the complexion of agriculture within the town of Woodstock. It's been our recommendation that we change the limiting language that you see in the existing legislation to paint with a much broader brush. We're watching agriculture evolve into a great many smaller farms. Oh. I've lost a couple of hearing aids with these masks. Anyway, we wanted to change the ordinance so it painted with a bigger brush. We watched the number of dairy farms go from, in 1990, from 22 down to 6 today. But we've also watched the smaller farms, Echo Farm, number of other farms within the town just evolve. We wanted to give them as much support as we possibly could in maintaining the agricultural ambiance that everybody loves in our town. And that was our purpose.
So will you come to the front here and
Jared Morse. One quick question for the Ag Commission. This abatement, have you guys thought about cannabis growers and will they be covered underneath this in this abatement?
the question was, were potential cannabis growers included in this abatement?
No, we have not addressed that directly. We've got the language, if you see in the language, it's covered by the state statute, the definition of agriculture and farming. And so it's my understanding that there are conversations afoot to direct the control of cannabis, but we did not address that specifically.
We've got a Zoom question first.
I have a Zoom question from Wendy Costa. I'm asking her to unmute.
Hi, Wendy.
Okay, thank you. I'm 100% in favor of this, but I want to ask the question, do we know what the financial impact is to the town of this?
Yes, we do, and our manager is going to address it. Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Fitzpatrick, and I am the finance director for the town. This past year, fiscal year 2021, the exact amount was $10,333. People can apply, I think it's every 5 years, and then it goes by the current mill rate. Any other questions? Mr. Swan, yes.
In answer to Mr. Morris, yes, the planning and zoning adopted a 1-year moratorium on growing or selling of cannabis products. So after a year, we're going to be starting, and it's going to be addressed in the town of Woodstock. Because of our population, we would be allowed by the state to have 1 grower and 1 retail outlet because of our population. But for now, we've got a 1-year moratorium since it was legalized by the state.
Thank you, Dave. Yes, Suzanne.
Karen, I didn't understand your answer. Are you saying that the loss of revenue with the current ordinance is approximately $10,000 per year? Okay, but the question I would have would be, when we expand it, what will be the cost of the town, due to the expansion? Does anybody have any idea how much land we're talking about?
No, that would be more assessment, because there, the assessment box would be the to determine how much it is to agriculture, and so it would probably increase.
Well, I would assume it would increase, but I'm just wondering, is it gonna double, triple?
I need Karen.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking, you know, is it gonna be 50,000 instead of 10,000 or what? We don't know. Okay. Would seem that would be kind of nice to know before we enact it, you know, I'm just saying.
Karen? So to answer your question, Suzanne, unfortunately, there is really no way for us at this time because it's based also on the mill rate, and we don't know what the future mill rates will be in our town. So yes, it's probably going to cost more than it is now. This figure was based on the latest assessment at 25.5 mil. So in order for us to be able to provide that information, it would be inaccurate because we can't predict what the mill rate will be or how many people will actually apply. We could talk to the assessor. Yes, Rebecca.
Elaine, I can't give you exact numbers, but off the top of my head, I'm thinking that this will be the vegetable farms, which are normally not broad acre farms. They're usually, 2-4 acres. Probably Woodstock Farms, Echo Farms, maybe Dancing Frogs Farms if they stay in business. It doesn't cover the horse farms, doesn't cover forestry. So, and a lot of those farms are already in the 490 program, so the valuation per acre is not very high. This would cut it in half. So I can't give you an exact number. I would not expect this to have a huge impact on the taxes, but for the individual farmer, it could make a big difference, for their ability to stay in business. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And yes, this gentleman, whose name, I'm sorry, I don't know. So when you come up, please say it.
I'm Ron Logan. One of you says that farms 10 years ago was 22.
Can't hear you.
Someone said that the number of farms we had 10 years ago was 22, and now we have 6. My question is, what happened to the other? I can't do the math.
I believe, yes, Mr. Morris.
The answer to your question is that the attrition of the farm family and the fact that we've just gone on to do other things, the land has been sold to development or things like that. Our main interest was to assist and promote the agriculture within the town. The example of the 20 versus the 6 was only to point out that the dairy farms, being the largest, are the most visible. We've got orchards. We had 5 orchards. Now we've got 1. And so that I probably did that poorly, but it was an idea. You see them. Those are the things you see. You don't see the 3-acre market garden that is in the back, or the family that are raising chickens.
I think I'm permitted to add that these changes reflect the changes that the state itself is using to define agriculture. This trend is not just a Woodstock trend where dairy farmers are going out of business for a variety of reasons. Farming and agriculture is still vibrant in the state of Connecticut. It's still vibrant in the town of Woodstock, and this is a way that the town can assist with that. So again, the number of small farms is growing throughout the state, growing in our town. And this is just the committee's way of recommending or recognizing that fact. Are there any other questions or comments? One more, okay. And then we'll call the vote.
I've been in this town 50 years now, and I've seen a lot of changes. I know farmers, friends of mine, and nobody works harder than the farmers. I was in manufacturing 30 years, and I sold the state of Connecticut to manufacturers with laws regarding clean water, clean air, clean sewage. Nothing wrong with those things. But what they did was, so you clean up your air or else. To me, there's a lot of talk about community. What this state should have done. We want you as an employer. We're going to help you clean up your smokestacks. We're going to help you clean your water. But we want you here to continue working in Connecticut. Connecticut took a rough and patch it to manufacturing in Connecticut. I know it, I've seen it firsthand. Whenever we have a chance to save an industry like farming, I think we should do it. I don't want to pay more tax, but I guarantee you that. I do pay my share. But riding around in Connecticut, and seeing this farmland, and seeing it used, to me, it's a part of who we are in Woodstock. And I support this 100%, and I hope that we can have not 6 farms, but 60 as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, we were going to call the vote, but now we've got questions. Jean and then Robert.
I am Jean Phillips from Smith Road. Maybe it's the wording, but I was curious as to why this doesn't seem to cover beef cattle or other meat animals.
When you look at the definition, we reference the state statute that defines. Never have any trouble people hearing me. Anyway, we reference the state statute that defines agriculture in that. And so hopefully, perhaps we've missed a loophole in there, but this is much better than we had the present ordinance has, gives protection, talks about dairy farms and orchards, vineyards.
And Robert.
Robert Chang, Echo Farm, 1051 Route 169. A little bit sheepish about being up here because obviously our farm has been mentioned. And I just wanted to, first of all, express my gratitude to Mr. Morris and others, the Ag Commission, for thinking of us and including us with this change in the ordinance. We really appreciate that. And also want to extend my gratitude to the community for welcoming us and supporting us as new members of Woodstock and as a new farming town. And again, I just ask that you all support the changes to the ordinance and to agriculture in Woodstock. So thank you.
Ready to vote? Okay. All in favor of amending the tax abatement ordinance regarding farms, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries.
9 yes, 1 no.
That's 9 yes and 1 no on Zoom. The ayes have it. Thank you. And again, thank you for the vibrant conversation. So I believe we are all set. So a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait. there any other action to come before, properly come before the meeting tonight? Hearing none, now we'll move to Mr. Dougherty
I'll second that, baby.
and Mr. Swan. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.